You know, it was interesting. The sort of concept for the record came around a photograph that Rich had taken on the 4th of July, and it was, you know, fireworks, you know, the silhouettes of people watching it fade, and it was also sort of a reminder that like things like the 4th of July are things that have become symbols of like our monuments, you know, had sort of faded. They'd sort of detracted in their meaning. People, they can be their own monument. They don't need to like look to monuments to remind them what's important. They can be their own sort of choice of change. And then, you know, what I also think is that songs can be like monuments. You know, they're sort of this idea that they affix a certain place or time, and they stand as like a testament to whatever that time and place was or that circumstance. And so, you know, over time, I think what most people who make music hope for is that they've done something that stands beyond just what they've done.
Monuments has been a culmination of, you know, many years of what Fire in the Radio, I think, has been working towards. I think of who we are and really the stepping grounds of, I think, of like where we can really take this to.
We're not a political band, and we never have been, but we're definitely political people. I felt like with this record, no matter what, we're going to be very clear about like who we are as people lyrically. Like Rich and I talked a lot about that.
It's a personal record at times, but it's also it has an underlying, you know, political element to it as well. Just you know, living in the difficult times we live in. I think that there's a lot of vibe to this record that I think people will pull from and relate to, and I just hope that that comes across to the listener.
I'm more proud of what we've done with this than anything that we've done as a band, or really anything that I've done as a musician. It's been pretty amazing.
The first two Fire in the Radio records, I was the mixing engineer on those records, but this one they basically gave me the opportunity to you know, go out to New Jersey and, you know, produce it. I mean, one thing about this record is the band wrote a ton of songs. They wrote maybe 30 songs or something, and almost all of those I'd heard, you know, in a demo-ish form.
We had 20, 30 songs. Like, we really took our time and were very critical on what we wanted to do.
Sifting through 30 ideas, I mean, that's a lot. It really was very democratic in terms of the fact that, you know, we all listened to it and which songs do we like, which songs do we not like. We all kind of just agreed these are the songs.
Yeah, we had kind of gotten to this list of 31 ideas, and you know, in the demo reel, they're kind of all over the map. Like, there's not like, I mean, there's cohesion around them, but they're, you know, trying things in one direction or trying things in another, and they're sort of like, you know, small sketches before you'd make a painting, right? You know, it's like you kind of figure out what that looks like, and okay, we'll put that over here, and, you know. And then Jesse went through them all with great detail and started to give us notes.
So, you know, there were 6 or 8 definite ones, and then 6 or 8 maybes, and of the maybes that felt the best, those are the ones that we decided to go whole hog on, basically.
And again, this was supposed to be 9, and we ended up pushing to make it 11, and super proud of it because those 11 songs were everything.
As we were thinking about what the record would sound like very early, even before we had written maybe more than 5 songs, Rich and I sort of went through and started making lists of all the guitar sounds and from all the bands that we really liked. Okay, well, here's, you know, a Turnover sound, which I think is a great band, and then at the same time I'm digging out like an old 80s R.E.M. like jangly tone, and I'm like, okay, what happens if you put those two together with like a JCM 800 distorted like Jawbreaker kind of amp? It's like, okay, I like these things. How do we do them in a, you know, sonically new way that still has that vibe?
It definitely resonated well, you know, from my end, and I assume from the rest of the band, because there were similar influences of ours.
John really talked about how he'd been going back and listening to R.E.M. records, and you know, records that had a keyboard element to it, had a synthesizer element, and we wanted to just kind of push it in a little bit of a different way that maybe we didn't feel that everyone else was doing, and something that was still very much like a part of our repertoire.
If you want other people to care about it, you have to care about it first, right? And caring about it comes from like spending all the time writing.
There's pairs of songs, and sometimes Rich has a song of a certain type and John has a song of a certain type, and that's kind of what that there was a bit of an agenda there at times to make sure that everything that we covered all our bases and that we chose the best versions of those bases when we did.
I think what's always made us successful as friends and as a band is that this is and has always been a very communal band. Like there's not like, well, somebody plays the bass or somebody plays the drums or somebody plays the guitar and they can't have crossover into any one of the other places. Like we don't operate that way. There's no rules like that. We can always switch it up and try things, and everyone's input is considered that way. And so I found that to be unique in bands I've played in. I've never found it with anyone else other than this band.
We get in a room and there's a synergy that happens.
I think we've accomplished what we've wanted to do, and I think we really surprised ourselves in getting this record done. With all the barriers and bumps along the way to do that.
I just feel grateful that everybody else in the band wants to keep going and keep growing artistically,
And now 4 months have gone by as they've been, leading up to the release and doing the manufacturing and the album cover and the videos and all that stuff. And I haven't really listened to it because I'm just looking forward to getting the vinyl in the mail and putting it on my turntable and just enjoying it as a fan, because I'm, aside from producing the record, I'm also a total fan of the band now. So I'm I will have had this time to step aside from it and just be able to put it on and hopefully rock out to it in my living room. That's the moment I'm looking forward to now.